5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, hi. I just thought I'd do a quick review of the new Apple TV series called See. I was kind of interested that they were launching a TV series which is specifically about a society where everybody has gone blind, as I have. Well, I'm registered visually impaired, severely sight impaired, so I was very curious how you could make a whole TV series about a society where everyone's gone blind. So it's a bit of an odd situation because it seems that Apple TV are trying to launch a new platform like Netflix, and this is their first major title that they've launched. It seemed rather a strange title to launch such a major brand launching its TV platform. So anyway, I was quite hopeful after the trailer, and I've watched the first 2 episodes, so I thought I'd just do a quick reaction to what I thought of this TV show. The whole premise does seem rather spurious, that the whole world's population goes blind due to some virus, and then the second generation or so don't actually then recover eyesight. And then they have like a whole taboo about people who are blind, and they become, they're kind of like a dark magic, and they call them witches, and they try to burn them. I don't really want to give too many spoilers. It's just my overall opinion of the show as representing visually impaired people, and how this whole thing, I really can't imagine how somebody thought this was a good idea. But anyway, so the actors are all wearing some kind of contacts or something, and they are all blind. They don't go into much in the way of the visual impairment. Has many different types of visual impairment. Some people can just see like a pinprick. Some people can see shapes. Some people can see colors. Some people can see nothing at all. Everybody is different, but in this world, everybody is totally and utterly blind. But then they do seem to get around quite a lot. And they all live in these villages, and they've gone a bit Stone Age, and they live in mountains and things like that, and fight grizzly bears and things. And then the main plot follows the Queen hoping to capture the children of the one-sighted person who's had given passed his seed along to a lady who is now going to have some sighted children, which is apparently a major threat to the powers that be. So they've sent out their army to destroy these sighted people. Seems rather I don't know, not a very good idea, but anyway. So in their battle scenes, so they have a battle between the blind people, the 2 armies of blind people, which is rather hackneyed battle, where, I mean, I can't imagine like 2 armies of blind people going at it with hooks and claws and swords. I mean, how do they know they're not killing their own people? There is some sort of sound code that they're all giving off to each other, but I mean, really, it wasn't very well developed. And I could see, within the sound of a battle, that would all the while become quite chaotic. And how would you know you weren't just hacking off your best friend's head and things? And there was these sort of weird hooks and things. And then it turns out they have psychics as well. Well, of course, blind people are psychic. Everybody knows that. So they have psychic people as well, but their psychic abilities are kind of limited. I don't know, it wasn't very clearly explained, but they can kind of sense people coming from far away and how many they are and what kind of attitude they're in, and then how many heartbeats away they are, which is also right. Okay, they must have like super sensitive hearing or something. I don't know. It is kind of already drifted into a bit of the other world rather than being totally science based. The blind people in the thing are obviously acting, and I don't know how thick those contact lenses are that they put on them, but they do seem to be sort of waving sticks around and things, but it's all a bit hackneyed and cliched. The enemy guys, the bad guys, use dogs to find the good guys, which surprises me is like why the good guys don't have dogs. You think after several generations of being blind, they would have also figured out that having dogs as soon as everyone is blind would have been a good idea. There's probably 1,001 practical difficulties that really aren't explained in this show, as to how they survive and everything in the wilderness, being blind for numerous generations. It then goes into quite a strange. There's a sighted guy who's sort of leaving them handy bridges and things around, whereas you think he might. Well, if he could see, why doesn't he, just tell them and then help them across the bridge? And then it's kind of weird. He's only one guy, and he somehow managed to build this huge bridge across a massive ravine. So it just shows if you've got eyesight, absolutely anything is possible. Why this guy didn't just start making AK-47s and having at it and taking over the world, I have no idea. As they say, the one-eyed man in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. But no, he doesn't do that. He leaves like little clues around and bells, a lot of jingly bell things, as a sort of how can you say, signposts for the blind people to find their way across this wilderness and find their secret encampment. There's obviously some backbiting within the blind people, and then some of them are like traitors, and so I think they're trying to impose a sort of normal script, and then someone along the line went, why don't we make them all blind? It'll make them more interesting. And to be honest, it's quite, I don't know what to say. It's rather a strange concept, really. There is a famous film called Blindness, which is about when the world goes blind. I think that's a much more realistic description of what would happen if everyone in the world went blind. But it's pretty grim. But this TV show, which I expect is going to be going on for a very long time. I don't know how long I can stick it out. I'm kind of just watching it just for the new people thinking, how can you watch it? He's blind. Yes, exactly. I have some limited peripheral vision, and I have a screen very close to my face, and audio descriptions, things like that, whatever. But I didn't have audio description on this. So I'm just kind of listening to it and then watching it out of the corner of my eye, very close to the screen. But I'm able to figure out what's going on. Years of practice, and I don't know. It seems like they've really thrown a lot of money on it. The production value seems quite high, but the plot is really, really troublesome. And going into the baddies, so the baddies have created this whole religion around being blind, and how the sighted people were the cause of the end of the world, and so they all want to stay blind rather than. And some reason they haven't discovered Braille, but they use this kind of knotted. They write notes in knots to each other, and they quite detailed like letters they write to each other with these knots. And I really suspicious of how this series of knot writing would be so fluent and be able to have such a large vocabulary. But there you go. It's anyway. It's a TV show, right? But obviously, I don't understand why they didn't just go with Braille, because that's the actual writing system already in place for blind people. So then the blind people would have been able to read books and things, whereas instead they're reading knots, and then and then they go into this rather strange with the head queen of the bad people. So they've made this is probably the weirdest and the main sort of shocking thing, because none of it's very shocking up to this point, is that the the blind queen of the blind people is when she prays, she has to masturbate at the same time, which is her form of praying. So it's a bit twisted, actually, that one. It's like, I don't really know how to unpack that. Like, what, why, what, how. And it's a kind of twisted version of the Lord's Prayer where it's saying people should stay in darkness and things like that. They are able to use, I don't know, some kind of bird like kestrels or something to pass messages to each other. I wouldn't have thought kestrels or eagles or whatever they are very good messaging birds. We'd be better off with I guess they were doing this Game of Thrones thing with the crows, but instead of crows they did kestrels. They could have gone with pigeons. I think it could have been a lot more humble and not tried to be such a heroic thing, but then I guess they're trying to create a blockbuster along the lines of Game of Thrones or something like that. But it's I'm really skeptical about this TV show so far, and just from like being blind at this point, being a consumer. I know Apple try their best to show that they're really cool, and they do offer certain adaptions for blind people on their technologies and stuff, which is probably more similar to Microsoft or someone, but they've been doing it for a lot longer. I wish this had been done differently. I wish they'd actually, I don't know if they did or not, but I wish they
did some actual research.
Well, no, I mean consulted some blind people, like, so how would you react in this situation? Like, what? I don't know, like, why have they
more
done
believable
this? Yes, it would be a lot more believable if they were, I don't know, they would. I get it that it's been like a few hundred years or so since human society collapsed, and so I assume like they still were able to play records, the bad people. They were listening to Lou Reed, but and the other people, the good people who live up on top of a mountain, they're a bit like a bit more peasanty, I suppose. But they call themselves alchemists, and they have lots of weird things like fighting dancer and whatever. I don't know. They have a ghost who can mysteriously creep around all the other blind people without them knowing they're there. But they can't see either, apparently, I don't know. But it's like, well, I think the blind people would probably hear them, because you're going to be relying on your sense of hearing a lot more. And if someone's trying to be super quiet and creeping around, I'm pretty sure you'd hear them. And they're naked and creeping around too, and covered in grey paste, which somehow makes them invisible to dogs. Anyway, I just thought I'd do a quick review, because it's such a, I mean, for a major TV series to be focusing on blind people, that is really, I think, rather major. I don't think can't really think of any other TV series or what have you even has any blind characters, never mind an entire cast. But it's still like, we can comment, it does seem rather problematic. I think if they're hoping to turn this into a long running series, or is it just going to be a one-off attempt as a series, I'm not sure. I really feel that it's got some big stars in it. I'm not going to name any names because I don't really know who they are, but I think they're famous, some of them. But it's just rather, if you're watching it from the perspective of somebody who is visually impaired, there's a lot of things in it which make you go, what? And I guess, I don't know, if you're like a normal person watching this, does it make you feel a bit uncomfortable? Like, oh, they're all blind, like, what are they doing? Oh, they're all trying to kill each other, and oh. So they sort of, when we have a society of blind people, they will still carry on the normal human traits, just they'll be blind, so it'll be a bit harder for them, but they're still going to carry on with wars and things like this, rather than just trying to survive, which I imagine would be about the most difficult thing. But there you go. Anyway, so I keep this really short. I just thought I'd do a quick reaction video to See, the new TV series by Apple, and I'm going to try to keep watching it for a little bit. I don't know if I'll do this again, but I think it's definitely, I don't know, it's probably for most reviewers, they absolutely have no idea what to make of this, so they probably, also from a PC thing, they're finding it quite hard to comment at the moment, because it's like, what? Yeah, I would say as a blind person, you definitely could think that this is a bit odd. So I don't think, if you're feeling a bit odd, you'd be correct. I don't think if you got 200 blind people had decided to have a battle, I don't think it'd really work out that way, and I don't think they think it was a good idea to start with. I really don't. And it was all, anyway, the battle, they just sort of got into it like for no reason. They didn't really have much of a discussion or anything. They just started fighting, and it was all very dramatic. Of course, they had all the music, and they started doing Maori war dances at some point, which I really don't understand why. But anyway, okay, that's my two thoughts. I thought I'd just do that. So if you do watch it, you could comment below, let me know what you think. Have a screen reader, or tell me what you say. There you go. Thank you. Bye.